Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy, and let's see if we can't trigger the sensors in the first 10 seconds. Israel attacks Syria's capital of Damascus, as well as the Satanic festival in, where is that? Belgium was burnt. Tomorrowland, yeah.
Which you don't know what that is, do you?
Well, I just figured if we said Israel, Syria, Damascus, and Satanic, that would definitely trigger the sensors.
If you really want to trigger them, you should say CP, but I'm not going that far.
Well, no, I just want to see what's possible on this new platform of ours.
It's not new. Okay, so should we start with Israel?
Yep.
Good night to everybody. Hello, how are you doing? If you're joining from my live in Spanish, thank you so much for being here. I hope you got spat over here correctly, because that's how I say it in Spanish. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. We always want to know what you think about all these stories so we can have a discussion rather than us just talking at the wall.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the first story. And I woke up this morning and this was all over my ex. This is just a shame. I mean, Netanyahu is just bombing one target after the next. He's got 8 separate wars going on, 4 with actual countries, 4 with organized groups that are not necessarily have their own governments. But man, how many fights do you want to pick at once? Pick one at a time. He knows Trump's going to back him up, so he just keeps picking all these fights all at the same time.
Yes. And I mean, this just continues to give credibility to the fact that they don't want to end it or do anything about it, and that maybe
And what?
Israel ending.
You want to end Israel?
No, Israel ending the fighting with people.
Huh?
What did you just say? I was trying to figure something out.
Oh, just say you don't know.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah. Is Trump going to continue to support them? Yes.
That's what I was trying to say.
They know he's going to continue to support them, and they know their favorability amongst conservatives and liberals in the United States is quickly fading, even amongst moderates. That's why they think this is the last term they can really have full-throated U.S. support in any war they start. So maybe they're trying to start all of them. I could actually understand 1, maybe even 2, but when you have 8 conflicts going on at once, this is getting crazy.
That's kind of what I was trying to say with the whole they want to keep starting things instead of ending them.
Okay. I just didn't understand what you were saying.
Israel bombs Syrian capital despite U.S. pressure to stand down. Oh, it won't let me read it, will it? No. The Trump administration has asked Israel to halt its strikes on Syrian government targets and to open direct talks with Damascus, a senior U.S. official told Axios on Wednesday. And then you talk while I try to find a better article.
Yeah, no, you don't need the article. I actually want the X.
Oh.
I want the X, which I had bookmarked. It actually shows the strike being had. So it was a pretty big strike.
Okay, hold on.
What was the first X I bookmarked? You didn't grab it?
It's not the first one.
Okay. Well, on my articles in order, this was the first story we had for the day.
No, I just grabbed an article because it said article.
Okay.
That's how we communicate with each other.
You just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
There we go. So
yeah, let's play it.
Okay. With sound or without sound?
Yeah, with sound with sound is good.
غارة جديدة وائل غارة جديدة وائل غارة ثانية غارات عنيفة جدا 4 صواريخ.
But it might trigger sensors.
No, it's not going to never mind. Okay. We already triggered the sensors in the first 10 seconds with satanic talk, Israel, Syria, terrorism. Do you want me to keep going?
No.
No? Okay. Child. Okay, so that was the strike on Damascus, and it was really big. The fact that they're starting another war in Syria, they're already kind of involved in that one, but they're trying to escalate it now. They just escalated the Iranian war. They have other things going on in Palestine. I actually had a list of all 8 conflicts they were in, so this is just getting kind of out of hand, and this is why I think they're losing more and more support. Wait, we can go into the next story here.
I found another article. Do you want me to go into that one?
No, let's go into the next story if you can.
Fine. Hold on. No, I can't find it. The gays against...
whatever story you have up, you just bring that up.
Okay. I'll just quickly read Rafa's comments. Rafa says, hello, Israel is a menace to world peace.
Yeah, definitely. And they're becoming quite the liability to the United States now. Trump has always had major support from them, and it's becoming a huge issue right now. I mean, things are potentially escalating in Ukraine. Who knows how that's going to go? My theory is he's giving them weapons in order to collapse the European economy. But still, there is so many wars on so many fronts. In Israel alone, there's 8 current conflicts they're engaged in. It's too much.
Yes. Next story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
So from Gays Against Grooms, we can't say that word technically on YouTube, but if you don't follow them, if you don't know them, it's an organization of sane gay people that want to go against all the activists and all the ideology in schools, etc. But they say huge win, the largest trans youth center in the US at Children's Hospital LA is closed thanks to the Trump administration cutting funds for gender-affirming care or mutilating kids on kids. Gays Against Groomers celebrates this victory for protecting children from irreversible procedures, which is what they are. All of this.
I think you just call them GAG.
Sure, GAG.
Yeah. Because we do quite a few stories from them. So if you just start calling them GAG from now on, it would be good.
Fine. But okay. Largest youth gender-affirming clinic in America has shut down.
Yeah. So, this was a pretty big story. Donald Trump cut off funding to these clinics. Now we're starting to see the result of that, which is very good. Gavin Newsom said this wasn't going to happen in his state. Well, I guess it is happening once the funding from the top is getting cut off.
And that's also kind of the worrying bit, that all of this ideology, all of this mutilation of children's and healthy body parts and sterilizing them was coming through thanks to, and now we're seeing with this center shutting down and a bunch of other ones as well, a lot of the funding was coming from the government directly, essentially. So the fact that they can't operate without those funds is what is worrying, that it was also part of kind of the government, in a sense, operation, or at least the government was giving it okay by
we all kind of knew this, that they were funding it out to NGOs so they could have plausible deniability, but the funding was actually coming from the government to the NGOs, to the organizations, and down into the people.
Yes.
So a lot of this money is either getting cut off or refunneled into other organizations, which is good. We're seeing something similar happen to Planned Parenthood. Abortion is on the docket for Trump. They're trying to get rid of it. The current court case that the liberals kind of filed against his
birthright citizenship
is backfiring, and it may outlaw abortion in the United States by giving unborn fetuses
unborn babies
the right to citizenship. If they get that right, they obviously have the right to life. So it would set a great precedent.
Well, what it's doing is making them their own specific class of persons. So that means they have personhood, which means attempting against their lives is a crime.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into, what do we have next?
Well, you had this story, and I don't really understand it.
Yeah, so let's read into the story, and then we'll actually watch it.
Sure.
So this is a huge festival in Belgium. It's a satanic music festival.
It's not satanic.
It is. It's well known. All the other headlines were satanic.
It's a music festival, mostly EDM and stuff, but okay.
Do you not see the stages for these things in the past?
Yes, that's how they design all their stages.
No. If you read any other article other than the CNN one, why don't you type it up and grab
I know
an
what
article?
Tomorrowland is. I wanted to go at one point.
Okay.
It's a music festival.
Why don't you read it
But
then?
huge fire ravages Belgium's Tomorrowland Music Festival main stage days ahead of opening. A huge fire has consumed the main stage of Belgium's world-famous Tomorrowland Festival days ahead of its planned opening on Friday. Due to a serious incident and fire on the Tomorrowland main stage, our beloved main stage has been severely damaged, the organizers said. We can confirm no one was injured during the incident. Videos show thick plumes of black smoke, which we will see. In Boom, Belgium, Wednesday, fireworks could also be seen and heard going off in the distance. Maybe they were doing some sort of firework testing.
Why don't we go down and
see
see if it got canceled now?
No, it says no festival goers were at the site. Organizers, the Electronic Dance Music Festival was due to start on Friday. Organizers said in their statement that the site's Dreamville campsite will open on Thursday as planned, and they are focused on finding solutions for the festival weekend. Tomorrow we're expecting 38,000 festival goers at Dreamville at our campsite. We're really looking forward to it. So it seems like they're going to try to keep going on without it. And it was the main stage. They have other stages around, so...
So they'll probably it's going to suck for the festival goers for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go into the actual footage we have of it.
Just because this person says it's satanic doesn't mean it's satanic.
All the articles I typed up said satanic except for the CNN one. That's why I kind of grabbed the CNN one.
If anybody out there in the chat knows what Tomorrowland is, please help me
Just because
correct
you
him.
used to be a lesbian satanic worshiper doesn't mean it's not satanic here.
Well, it's an EDM festival.
Okay,
If there's conspiracy theories around it, sure.
whatever you say. Do you hear the music?
Which we'll probably get copyrighted for. But I mean, it is a pretty big fire.
Well, it looks like hell's coming to Earth now. So we'll say that. I was right.
Out of the two of us, I'm the more grounded one.
Definitely not.
It's a lion. How is that? I mean, the imagery for EDM and all of that, yes, leans very that way, but it doesn't mean it's actually satanic.
Okay. Okay, let's go into the next story.
Andrew Wardna says, thank you so much. And Rafa says, isn't it a music festival? Yes, it is. That's what I'm saying. It's a EDM mostly, or electronic music festival that has been going on for a long time.
Well, I think it was because of last year's stages. It was very satanic oriented for last year's stages with multiple shrines to which look like demons. It was all. I watched a big special about it.
I'm a pretty heavy conservative, but even for me, I don't just call anything that looks weird satanic.
You also don't believe in portals, so.
No, I don't believe in portals.
Okay, well, that's the.
And Rafael says, and it's also a movie about time travel. Yes, it is.
See, the portals. And I'm the crazy one. Okay, let's go into Trump's DOJ declares war on Maha. And
More
I kind
conspiracies.
of, as everybody probably knows, I am a Trump supporter, although I did call him out on the Iran war. I will call him out when he does good things, and we will call him out when he does bad things. Today, it's kind of a mixed bag. There were some good things. There were some bad things. This was definitely something that isn't good. Pam Bondi is consistently a bad influence on the administration overall, I would say. Because I was very happy to see what RFK had succeeded with, and that was getting fluoride out of the water. I had always thought that was a major problem, and it was brought in through industrialization, and it was a byproduct they needed to get rid of, so they started putting it in water.
I'm saying it would help with cavities.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm also a Trump supporter. I'm kind of the one that got you into Trump initially. You used to hate him and call me baby Trump, but again, not afraid to call him or anybody else out when they mess up or if they're going in the wrong direction, in my opinion.
Well, we're some of those supporters that maybe he doesn't want us to support him anymore, so that's fine if that's the case.
I don't know if I'm all the way there yet, but
That's the statement he came out with today. We'll talk about that in a little bit, though. Okay,
so
let's go
from
into this
Lauren
one.
Lee, breaking, Trump's DOJ just declared war on Maha. Again, take everything with a grain of salt. The Solicitor General reporting directly to Pam Bondi is forcing the EPA to appeal the court's ruling on fluoride. The ruling was a massive Maha win. Now they want it gone.
Yeah, I thought this was even bigger than the red food dye. The red food dye was big, but you obviously have the option to get around that with the fluoride. Millions of Americans are drinking that stuff, and I really wanted to see a baseline study and statistic once they took the fluoride out of the water. But
And it continues. In September 2024, U.S. District Judge Edward Chen issued a landmark ruling. Fluoride in U.S. water poses an unreasonable risk of reduced IQ in children. The EPA was ordered to take regulatory action. Maha won. At the time of the ruling, over 200 million Americans were drinking fluoridated water at optimal levels. The ruling was based on years of evidence the EPA tried to hide from the public. The case began in 2017, filed under the...
yeah, we don't need to read the whole thread. I just wanted to kind of bring it up to start the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually when we have threads, I just want the first one.
Okay, fine.
Okay, let's go into...
But I'd like to give more information.
Yeah. You can go into Joe Biden if you want.
Jill?
Yep.
So from the post-millennial, Jill Biden's former chief of staff pleads the fifth in House deposition on Joe Biden's mental decline. Anthony Bernard declined to answer multiple questions posed by the House Oversight Committee.
And you know more about this than I do.
I don't know that.
You tagged this article, so...
Well, yeah, just because I thought it was interesting. I don't actually know that much about it. I mean, other than the obvious. The former chief of staff to First Lady Jill Biden invoked the Fifth Amendment during a closed-door deposition with House lawmakers on Wednesday, refusing to answer questions about whether the White House concealed signs of President Joe Biden's mental decline. Anthony Burnell, a longtime aide to both Jill and Joe Biden, declined to answer multiple questions posed by the House Oversight Committee. Burnell appeared for a closed-door deposition before the committee after previously skipping a scheduled interview. And I mean, I think this just mostly says it all. By pleading the Fifth, you're actually saying more than
everybody that seems to be kind of coming forward in these closed door hearings, it's leaking out that they're all pleading the Fifth or they're refusing to testify. Last week, there was a major person involved in the Biden administration that also refused to testify on his mental cognitive ability.
Yeah.
That being said, they know they'll be implicated under perjury acts if they do misspeak or lie about it. So they're just pleading the Fifth, which is kind of saying it all like you just said.
And this is also bringing up the whole auto pen issue and all the pardons that he granted. And was he in the room? Was he even aware that they were being signed? Who signed them? Who used the auto pen?
Well,
Who
that kind of came out
it?
yesterday, especially with the Fauci one. He did not approve the Fauci one, and it was the gentleman's name actually came out. Mm-hmm. We should have covered that story. I forgot to grab it, though.
Do you want me to grab it?
No.
The deposition is part of the committee's investigation into whether senior officials deliberately withheld information about Biden's cognitive health while he was in office, and if the former president was aware that documents were signed with his auto pen signature. Last week, Biden's former doctor Kevin O'Connor also pleaded the Fifth when asked questions by the same panel. And let me see if they actually say it here, but I don't think they go into that.
Oh, yeah, we can go into the family unit is the next story there. And this was on the Sean Ryan show. And Gavin Newsom the other day was on the Sean Ryan show as well, which was very surprising. I covered that. Sean Ryan asked him some tough questions that he really got tongue twisted on. So if you want to see a good interview, watch the Newsom Sean Ryan interview. This isn't that interview. I did see this clip pop up today, though.
Don't be surprised when you send your kids off to Caesar and they come back as Romans. Like, that's it. That's it, man. You're wondering why everyone's gone woke and has no idea what bathroom to use anymore. Just if like, what happened to our kids? I'm like, well, you gave them to the government for their entire childhood. You saw them at dinner and you attended their sporting events, but the government raised your kids, and social media helped, and video games or whatever. But you saw them every day, but you didn't raise them. You didn't log enough hours each day to counteract all the poison and time wasting and ideological propagandistic crap that they were getting fed year after year after year. And so millennial generation and now Gen Z has gone woke. And we feel like, oh, what happened to my daughter? We raised him better than that. No, I mean this in love, but you didn't raise him at all.
And yeah, there's a lot of truth in what he's saying. And I can understand a lot of parents maybe wanting to claim ignorant or not knowing, said, oh, I thought it was fine to send him to school. I didn't know what was going on. And now they're paying the consequences. The last couple of generations of parents have really checked out on their kids. And the government has really stepped into that hole and instilled ideology into these kids. And they're doing it right through preschool, kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, and university.
And then the job market as well.
And you wonder what happened to them.
But also there's this whole...
There's also
the way people try to justify it is, oh, but I had to go to work. Oh, but I was busy. Oh, but I can't just homeschool them. It's not that easy. But at the same time, a lot of these parents during the Zoom calls, during the bad times of 2020, were realizing by their kids going to school and in their living room and them seeing the syllabus and the curriculum for the first time, what they were being taught. And just as a normal common sense person, I do wonder, why did you not know or ever ask what your children were being taught in school?
Yeah, also I am kind of sympathetic to the argument just because you have to understand the government just didn't try to raise these kids and indoctrinate these kids. It was a game plan that they approached from both sides. They're overworking the parents and put in economic stress on the parents so they can't counteract the indoctrination that the government's putting on them in these schools. So, like, you can say, yeah, the parents can try to do more. This is, in my opinion, it's planned and organized by the government as a two-prong assassination of the nuclear family.
But it's up to the parents and that nuclear family to realize that, or to at least open their eyes to that, or try to know or be curious about what their kids are learning in these institutions that you're sending them off to, instead of pleading ignorance, like, oh, I didn't know.
Okay, a lot of people didn't know, and this woke stuff didn't come out. It wasn't always there, and it wasn't always so prevalent. So when you did talk to your kids, they didn't say, oh, they told us there were 16 genders. That stuff just started coming in the last 5 or 10 years. First, they trained the parents to trust the schools, so you don't have to really look or pay attention. Once they had the trust of the parents, then they started more and more indoctrination.
And it is interesting now that we're here in Mexico and I'm doing a channel in Spanish and talking about a lot of these subjects, which usually the English-speaking crowd are a lot more aware to and like at least understand it, even if they disagree with it. But like here in Mexico, when I made, for example, a video about how psychology has been captured by this same type of mentality, ideology, coming all the way from Herbert Marcuse, Marxism, all of those ideologies, the Frankfurt School, passing through a bunch of other thinkers and it infecting how kids are raised and taught in schools, not just in schools. People are in disbelief, and I see a lot of comments saying, you're crazy, how do you attack psychology this way? You sound like a conspiracy theorist, this isn't happening. Zero contact or no contact, which is this new trend on social media.
Yeah, people don't understand the financing of it, and the financing all came through USAID, the United States.
Only.
It was the primary financing did. That's why it's all collapsing now.
Right now. Yes.
From there, this stuff was all implanted in primarily Western nations like the United States, Canada, and the EU, and now it's trickling down into all these other nations that just don't understand what's actually going on. They can see something's wrong with the United States, but they don't really understand the root issues here. So, and a lot of this financing is now coming into countries like Mexico, like South America, like Africa, because the bigger Western countries like the United States and even Canada, even though the government still captured, people are really pushing back on this stuff now.
But here in Latin America, the left, and this has been going on for really long. I'd even argue almost longer than in the States, but people have become so accustomed to it. As I keep saying, here in Mexico, we never really had a conservative party or ideology or a set of thinkers from the actual right or from the actual conservatives. So, I mean, I think it's been affecting these societies for a lot longer than the States.
I don't think...
Or at least at the same time.
I don't think so. I think that this there was a point that, they were much more progressive and liberal down here in Mexico and other South American countries, but there's a baseline of religion too, so the state couldn't go too far. There was that balance, number one, but hold on. Okay, I forgot what I was going to say. You go ahead.
On that specific thing about religion, a lot of Vatican II and a lot of people that were trying to push for Vatican II were Latin American, both thinkers, and Vatican II fully took over
that's what I was
the
gonna say.
religious ethos in Latin America specifically.
There wasn't that long-term push of 96 genders going on.
Not yet. That's what they're trying now.
But that's what I'm saying. In the States, that has already been going on for 15 years.
But here,
So when you're saying they're more progressive down here, no, liberalism was much like the school. They gained everybody's trust, and then in primary Western countries like Canada, the EU, and the United States, they flipped the switch because they felt that they were losing control at a certain point, and they pushed it all and much too hard, and the whole thing is starting to crumble on them now.
Yes, but what I was going to say is here, the whole oppressive, more Marxist, communist style thinking, and even parties, and even, I'm thinking of Argentina with Peronismo, and Colombia, a bunch of different places within Latin America, got that push also from the Catholic Church with Vatican II and with those new ideals that they set forth when they approved Vatican II to go forward. A lot of the focus was on that in Latin America, and it actually worked. So a lot of people think that religion has kind of shielded us, but it has actually opened people up to that sort of thinking, even without realizing that they're doing it. Not as like the critical thinking aspect of it, not as much in the States, because that's more of a Protestant-ish, evangelical, etc. They have other branches that are more dominant there. So that's where they started capturing it a bit later, even in my opinion, and became way more explicit with the funding of USAID, but with the funding of NGOs themselves getting more and more, as we always say, the train got to the station, but then kept pushing forward and derailed. And that happened in the States a lot more clearly because they also had more money to do so.
Yeah, I think we're going
With
to
NGOs
agree
and
to
stuff.
disagree because when I first came here, I am seeing that push, but with Trump really cutting off the USAID funding, this is really crippling a lot of this progressive movement, even in Mexico. It's not moving at the pace that it was under Biden.
But you're thinking of the obvious stuff, the rainbows, the LGBTQ
Obviously.
everywhere,
No,
etc.
I'm not
What I'm
thinking it.
talking
No, I'm
about
not
is
thinking
the
it.
political currents and ideologies that have dominated Latin America for way
I'm very
longer.
aware of that. And that's not that. I was not thinking
And
of the
socialism.
very progressive stuff. Do you want to go into the next story?
Well, we do have comments.
Okay.
So he can't take the heat.
I can take the heat. We can keep talking about it.
So hello, says these animal. Thank you for being here. Rafa says psychology faculties are full of loonies and stoners. I mean, usually the ones that want to study psychology is because they have something going on in there that's different from the norm. Let's just say.
Also, you're gonna have a huge trouble because psychology was pushed within schools and on people and provided for through Medicare, through the government, and that whole industry of psychology was captured. Here in Mexico, you really don't have that element. Only only a certain class of Mexicans are going to be able to afford psychology and stuff like that.
Yes.
Therefore, the entire society doesn't get captured by
But
it.
thanks to social media and a lot of these pop psychology people showing up on social media and the whole self-care and mental health push, I mean, it does go kind of from top to down because also,
It's not like when you get
but
one
the
on-
elites are able to try to influence everybody else. I see it on TV,
But-
like open TV in Mexico. It's crazy.
I understand it is going on, but what I'm trying to, there's a definite distinction because when you get somebody one-on-one with a psychologist and the power differential is such as it is, and then they start assigning medications on top of the counseling, it starts to snowball once you get that person hooked on medication and put devious thoughts in their head.
Yes, and medication is also a big issue here as well. Like I've been seeing it for
They
years.
they
now,
don't
but-
have the CDC in schools prescribing medication directly to kids
I
in the
know.
schools without the parents' consent.
I know, not yet, but because here it becomes kind of fashionable to follow whatever's happening in the U.S. by the elites, and then that trickles down through mostly media, mostly open TV. I mean, we do see this push from open TV to talk. They have segments about mental health and segments about going zero contact with your family, stuff
What
like
I'm
that.
saying is, it's no.
contact
What
with
I'm
your
saying, it's
family.
no. The culture is shifting in the United States, and it's no longer fashionable in the West for a lot of these things. It's the elites pushing it on the people, and the people are pushing back, and that's why I don't think you're going to have the same driving force coming into Mexico. I understand when we first moved here, yes. Since Trump's cut off the billions of dollars, it has had a huge effect on how far this stuff can get pushed internationally.
Yes.
And I know you're going to continue to disagree. Why don't we go on to the next story? Because it's almost
But
10
what
o'clock.
Fine. What I was going to say just quickly is that a lot of the NGOs, like the HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, etc., have established
Oh, yeah,
themselves.
we have 3 people watching now because
Further here, okay.
let's keep going.
Rafa says Catholicism has been the shield that has kept wokeism away here in Mexico. Kind of. I kind of disagreed with that point, but sort of, yes.
I agree. I agree. I agree with
Certain
that.
bits of Catholicism, but at the same time, Catholicism helped push
Catholicism.
Catholicismo. Catholicism helped push a lot of the more actually fully left ideals into Latin America.
The progressives are attempting to capture the church through monetary donations and
The
things
more
like this.
evangelical and Protestant side, yes.
No,
Rafa-
not just the evangelical and prodigal side. They're doing it through. They're trying to go straight through the Pope.
Okay.
Okay.
Rafa says, well, you told me to stop talking about it. Rafa says, leftism in Latin America is pretty different from the US and Europe. Here, the traditional class struggle, Marxism is still the preferred branch among the left. Yes, as well. And it's more of the more traditional, even in that sense, ideology.
They're trying to bring the racial components in, but it's
Yes.
because it's such a homogenized society, it's a lot harder to do it. You
But
definitely.
they're bringing it in through class.
Yeah. It doesn't work. It doesn't. hit as hard through class. Through critical race theory is how they were. It was the new model that really worked and was really able to sneak in there.
But critical race theory comes from critical theory and from that
I
Frankfurt,
understand where it comes from, but
Frankfurt school. So now what they're going to do here is go through class, which was actually the original idea of how to see the power disparities among societies and the cultural hegemony.
Okay. Okay, why don't we go into the next story?
From Gramsci. Zesty's Animal says, hey, Nat, you were on a roll. Thank you. I love both sides to every coin. Thank you. Rafa says, I agree with Guy. I do not think that type of leftism will get stronger here in Mexico. I think it'll get more insidious. Probably. It will come more insidiously, like the gentrification marches we just saw. Stuff like that will continue to be pressed.
When we first started this channel, it was really to directly push back against this because it was coming in here hard and heavy. But honestly, I'm very surprised at the add-on effect Trump has had by canceling the financing of a lot of these things.
I mean, on the U.S. side, sure, but the ideological component is still here, and it's going to be used in a very different way, which is why I want to keep talking about it.
But it's not going to be how it was. The States, it just rolled all over everything, and we were very lucky that people stood up at the very last moment.
But what I'm saying is it's going to be a little bit...
Okay, why don't we go into the next story?
And Zesty's Animal says, I love an intellectual, slightly heated debate. Keep going. Thank you. This is essentially what we do when the cameras are off.
People used to complain because I used to intentionally start debates on camera because all I do is watch hours and hours of debates as I'm researching. So I love debates. So I used to intentionally pick fights on camera because I thought it was more entertaining, and people constantly complained. So we stopped.
We were fighting.
So we stopped doing it.
Well, I mean, we take it seriously, like the ideas, but we don't take them.
But I used to take even if I didn't believe it, I would take the opposite stance just to kind of weed out the subject matter, and so there'd be a little conflict on camera.
Yeah, but I mean, we debate about stupid things, like what type of cheese we should get.
Or,
that could be a 10-minute
or
conversation.
her new favorite hobby, b-boxing.
It's not my hobby. It's that it popped up on my YouTube feed, and I didn't know people could do that with their mouths.
Well, don't justify it. Now, she
really
falls asleep every night listening
Not every night. This past week,
you just
I got into it.
Every night. This past week.
When I'm done editing and doing the research, I want something that has nothing to do with politics.
Okay.
So I watch also.
But I'm just saying, I'm not lying. You do fall asleep to b-boxing competitions every day this week.
Because it's pretty cool.
Okay, let's.
It's pretty amazing, and I do think, and I'll get a little bit intellectual with this. Things like beatboxing, things like people on camera or real life interactions, I think will get bigger and bigger, and will gain a bigger fan base because of the push with AI music and a lot of AI generated music getting really big, and then people after realizing it wasn't really created by humans. So the push and the need for actual humans doing real things, even without like an instrument, I think will get bigger.
Yeah,
I think it's an interesting idea.
I'm not so much against beatboxing. I just am when you start doing it all day long, and it's just annoying.
Sorry. Zesty's Animal says, this is great stuff. I hope your algorithms get you sorted out for more exposure. Al Gore?
Algorithms.
Okay.
Are you retarded?
Sorry, we can't say that.
Oh, that's gonna.
We can't say that word now. Apparently, on
we
YouTube.
said everything within the first 10 seconds on today's episode. So.
Algorithms. Sorry.
Okay, let's go into the next story, which
Yes.
I've said for the past 10 minutes.
From CTV News, more than 50 candidates registered in Alberta by-election, where Pierre Poilievre hopes to win back a seat.
Okay, so in the main Canadian election, they pulled this in certain districts, and this was the first time it happened in Canada. It was your voting ballot was literally the size of this room, which was like 20 feet long, and then it had so many candidates that registered, so you couldn't find the candidate you wanted, and you usually just take the first person on the box, and that's how the Liberals in Canada manipulated certain districts. Now they're trying to do it again with this by-election to get Pierre Poilievre a seat back in Parliament. Pierre Poilievre was the candidate that should have won Prime Minister.
From the Conservative Party.
He was a good conservative candidate with just common sense values and things.
Good-ish. I mean, he took a little while to get to some of the most important points and address them, but
it's much better than what they have right now.
It's much better than Carney.
The best of two evils, I guess.
But it's interesting how they're trying to frame it here, because
go up really quick. No, never mind. I thought that was the courthouse. We used to live right across the street from the courthouse in Vancouver.
No, it's not. That's in Alberta. I mean, where he is in Alberta. Dozens of independent candidates have already registered in the rural Alberta riding of Battle River Crowfoot by-election, where Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre hopes to win a seat back a seat in the House of Commons. The list stems from a coordinated effort by electoral reform advocacy group activists' longest ballot committee, which is aiming to break records during this by-election by registering hundreds of candidates. Poilievre, meanwhile, is calling the initiative unfair and a scam. While the vast majority of candidates in the riding are running as independents, hopefuls from the United Libertarian, Christian Heritage, and Conservative parties have also put their names forward.
Yeah, and they really don't want Poilievre to get in power there, because then it will be, what's the girl's name that's currently running Alberta?
Danielle Smith.
Yeah, you have Danielle Smith, and then you have Pierre Poilievre, which are really the two biggest figures of the conservative movement. And if they both get on board for the separatist movement, which I don't really know if they will, because Pierre Poilievre may be somewhat captured, but if they do, it will almost ensure the separation of Alberta.
Well, it wouldn't be very convenient for them as politicians within the Canadian government to fully support it. Because, I mean, what would happen to them? Would they continue to be in charge of it?
They would be the president of Alberta if it separates. So it's like they would be risking it all. I think one of them will support it. One of them may not support it.
But maybe the indication will be like after the separation, the separatists vote. And if they do separate, that they have to elect someone democratically. And that it might not be them.
It would be one of those two if they...
I mean, probably, but...
Okay, let's go into the next article. And wait, before we get into the next article, it's about immigration as well. And right now, the Canadian government is absolutely flooding Alberta with migrants for this first quarter. Why? Much more than any other province in Canada. They're trying to get ready for the separatist election. They think if they flood it with migrants, that the migrants will vote against the separation, because they think they may be deported if Alberta separates on its own.
And I did see this from the UK, which essentially they're just spelling it out for everybody now. Digital IDs would help deter migrants from heading to the UK. Harriet Harman says the Labour peer admitted her view might be controversial, but it said it would help the problem of migrants heading to the UK illegally. And we have seen a turnaround from Keir Starmer, the PM, and also a lot of other not Tories.
This is ridiculous. This is today I was watching the 1-for-1 trade that they said they're going to do with France, and they're just absolutely flooding the UK border in this melee. I thought it's 1-for-1 and it should be organized. I guess you just line up at the border and you flood, and whoever gets across this gate is the legal migrant that gets in, and then they're legal now, so they're going to be given a digital ID. This is going to stop nothing, and you're going to try to sell this to the people by, if you take these digital IDs, it's going to be less migration, because everybody's against the migration in the EU, in the United States, in Canada right now. Migration is a trigger point issue. They want to bring digital ID on the back of that. The problem is a lot of this illegal migration isn't illegal. They've changed the laws to broaden refugee migration, so a lot of it's illegal. So these people that they're calling illegal migrants will actually get legal digital IDs, and it will be even harder to get rid of them.
But also for the population in general, and we have talked about this regarding the U.S., where it would be a way for like a lot of right-wingers, let's just call them, or MAGA people, to accept a digital ID by like attaching it to the security problem with illegal immigration, which would be, I mean, a great way to get people to do it.
Yeah,
and the fact that now it's
I'm obviously against illegal migration. This is why I think it's so important that Trump is taking a hardline stance and actually exiting migrants and not letting anybody else in the border, and saying you have to come in legally from here on in. That's very important, because no other Western country is doing it. And when you have no other country doing it, say the United States wasn't doing it, then you don't have a baseline if this is a successful policy or not. We're just told migration increases GDP, therefore it's a good thing, and then you cannot compare or contrast countries. This is why the international community right now hates Trump so much for taking a hardline stance on this, because if the statistics start coming back, it's actually a net benefit, not a net detriment. Other countries are going to have a tough time debating this issue. It's much like the trans issue. Nobody was standing up against it. Therefore, they had no statistics against it. So it was hard to win a debate on the issue.
Mm-hmm. But just quickly, the government should introduce digital identity cards to deter migrants from coming to the UK illegally, former Labour Minister Harriet Harman has told Sky News. Baroness Harman told Beth Rigby on the Electoral Dysfunction podcast, one of the country's pull factors is the fact that people arriving on small boats can easily work illegally. She said having digital ID cards would make it even more difficult for people to work illegally.
It's very important people stand up against these digital IDs. And the problem is the cell phone companies are now, they're planning to make it so you can't access your phone without a digital ID connected to your phone and your facial recognition. So if that's the case, everybody is so addicted to their cell phone, there's no way they're not going to be able to adopt a digital ID.
Mm-hmm. And Rafa says, how would you handle illegals that don't have passports and say they don't remember their country?
This was the case in Canada, and the guy was stuck there for, I think, 15 years. So this was, you didn't hear about this case? Yeah, this actually happens in Canada quite a lot. I don't know how to, I was theorizing and watching some debates about this before, but I can't remember the theory I came up with at the end.
So like if someone enters illegally but then says, "Oh, I don't remember what country I'm from," so
that's what that's
what
a lot of people do. So when I remember I was showing you a lot of stuff at the border. The border on the Mexican side is just riddled with international IDs from China, Africa, the Middle East, Russia. They all throw their IDs out because they don't want to be able to say what country they're from, because that is a major strategy that does go on.
I mean,
I think if they're going to do that and they're not going to tell you what country they're from, then you say it was the UK. The UK had this was proposed the other day on a debate, and they have islands off the coast of the UK far enough where you can't swim, and it's extremely hard to get off the island. Provide them resources, let them stay on the island until they tell you where they're from. I mean, you're going to have to put them in some kind of holding facility. Until they're willing to say where they're from.
But what I was going to say too is that now with the self or auto deportation that Trump is pushing, I mean, they could just get $1,000 and go somewhere else.
Yeah,
and say,
I think that's a better idea. Is you can be held at a holding facility until you're willing to tell them where you're from, or you can request a ticket anywhere you want in the world, which the U.S. is currently doing, and offering them $1,000 on top of that ticket, and then you can claim refugee status in one of the countries that are allowing refugees in. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a good compromise. But you're going to have to hold them in a facility until they're willing to tell you where they're from, and just offer them money to leave. Mm-hmm. So. And
Zesties Animal says, I thought Poland wasn't allowing migrants, plus Switzerland and the places where the elite play. They've started to.
I wish that was true. And a lot of the news articles we show, the people are standing up and they're beginning to patrol the borders themselves. The problem is the EU, because Poland has their own government and then the EU government is above the Polish government. They're forcing migrants in by giving them legal status within the EU as a whole. Mm-hmm. So then when Poland can deny illegal migrants, but they can't deny somebody that's legally been registered into the EU. If they do, then the EU puts major fines on them. At one point, I think it was $400,000 per legal migrant that they denied.
And I think Denmark was actually trying to plan a strategy to fully, say zero migration. But again, I mean, where does the connections lead?
So what's happening as these countries are saying no, like Poland and other Nordic countries are saying no, if you're an illegal migrant, you can't come in. The EU is saying, oh no, they're legal. They have a digital ID here, or they have an ID here. You have to take this many of the legal ones. If you don't want to take the illegal ones, that's fine, but you have to take these legal ones. Same thing on the 1-for-1 trade that's happening with France and the UK now. Mm-hmm. France is just sending more over in the boat, and the UK sending them back, but now they're having to take more quote-unquote legal ones, which they're not really legal.
Or legalize them, essentially. And Zesties Animals, as Robert Kennedy Jr. says, will be wearing wearables in a few years, pretty much a digital ID. I mean, all in all, we're already tracked all over the place, but...
Yeah, the biggest thing that I've seen is they're going to connect the digital IDs with your phone, so you're not going to be able to access your phone without your digital ID. So that seems to be the big play that's going on, and it made the most sense because people if you threaten to take away their phones or their phones are unworkable without a digital ID, they're going to probably accept the digital ID or the large enough of them, because you only have to get to a certain amount before you have enough.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of more insanity, from Senator John Kennedy, NPR CEO Catherine Mayer on CNN this morning. As far as the accusations that we're biased, I stand up and say, please show me a story that concerns you.
And we'll actually go into this thread in a moment, but we're going to watch this clip. And I watch a lot of NPR, or I used to watch a ton of NPR to get a biased left-hand view. I like to see both sides. I also watch a lot of extreme right-wing content and balanced content, just so I can see different perspectives on the same story. NPR is extremely biased. Everybody knows this. The fact that she's lying through her teeth is ridiculous. We're going to go into the thread after, and it will highlight some of the stories they've just outright lied on. Well, George Floyd was a huge one.
During the hearing she was in, she also lied about tweets that she had given about critical race theory and her being a white oppressor and a bunch of craziness.
As far as the accusations that we're biased, I would stand up and say, please show me a story that concerns you, because we want to know and we want to bring that conversation back to our newsroom.
And like a lot of people, a lot of moderates are working too much. They're raising kids, so they're only going to see that clip on her. And she's like, well, she seems pretty believable. She wants to know. But if you know, I watch a ton of NPR. It is one of the most biased news sources. Let's go into the thread here and see some of the stories.
There's sound. Okay. Oh, hold on. It ran away from me.
We don't need to play the clips, just read the headlines.
So NPR reported that country music and birds are racist, told American people to stop eating beef, and promoted the Russiagate conspiracy. No person with a brain above a single-celled organism would call these articles fair and balanced. Yes. NPR claimed that President Biden's presidential debate performance didn't change the election days before he dropped out of the race. If you believe that headline, you believe in the tooth fairy, but that's what NPR reported with your tax dollars. NPR reported that there's no evidence that biological men have an unfair advantage over biological women in sports. NPR also called Americans' interstate highways racist. I didn't know our highways were racist.
And let's just talk NPR. Like I watch a lot and listen to it. NPR has national radio. They have a YouTube station. There is a ton of different
podcasts.
Tentacles to NPR, and I watch them. I used to watch them all, and man, the depth they go into these stories and the amount of racist rhetoric they were shoving into every story about 4 years ago was absolutely
ideology
insane.
Just in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, he says, I didn't know our highways were racist. I thought they were concrete, but not according to NPR.
And when everything was, when the George Floyd thing was going in, they were relating it to every single subject. It was crazy.
NPR referred to rural Americans as Christian nationalists and heaped praise on Biden administration official Rachel Levine. If you don't remember, that's a man who thinks he's a woman. I could go all day. American taxpayers shouldn't have to fund this opinion journalism. Or at least, have the opinion section, but then have the actual news.
Yeah, and all those stories that they mentioned in that thread, I had personally listened to, and yeah, this was their narrative for years. I think they're trying to recover and come back to the middle now because, yeah. All right, let's go.
But to do that, they'd have to fire a bunch of people, which some of them have. But so Mark Carney.
Yeah, you can go into that really quick.
So from Dan Knight, Democracy Watch blows the whistle on Carney's ethics sham. This is very long, so I'll just read a little bit. But he says, so here's something the media doesn't want to talk about because it shatters the entire illusion they've built around the man they now call Prime Minister Mark Carney, the technocratic savior, the former banker with all the right globalist credentials, the guy who jets between Davos and Ottawa with a PowerPoint and a carbon tax. And yet today, buried under polite headlines and careful euphemisms, a watchdog group in Canada finally said what should have been obvious to anyone paying attention. Mark Carney's ethics screen and his so-called blind trust are scams, period. That's not hyperbole. That's from Democracy Watch, one of the last remaining ethics organizations in the country that hasn't been swallowed by the federal funding machine or bullied into silence by the PMO.
Okay, so what's the point of this?
That a bunch of...
You don't need to read it all. Just give me
a bunch of his investments and how he was able to essentially create loopholes for himself before he got elected and now as well is coming out. And Democracy Watch has started to uncover a lot of that.
Yeah, so it's good. It's kind of coming to the surface. We'll cover it more as the weeks and months go on. This stuff is really rising to the surface. He is heavily invested in the United States, specifically the United States tech center, the United States oil industry. He doesn't have hardly any investments in Canada. If Canada falls and Donald Trump is able to come in there and he gives them a sweetheart of a tariff deal because he's crumbled the country and he can justify to the Canadian people that he has to make this deal, he is going to profit to the tune of billions of dollars.
And the fact with Carney is the fact that he is being very hypocritical about it and calling for a carbon tax when he actually has a lot of holdings in oil, etc. So it's good that it's at least coming out more.
And let's go into Tommy Robinson. And we covered this yesterday. I covered this actually on my pop culture show this morning as well. And this was Lauren Southern accusing Andrew Tate of SA, which is sexual. And
the part you can't say is
yeah, and I had theorized it was all bullshit, and more stuff is coming out now about it. I like Andrew Tate. You don't. I'm not beyond saying that he can commit a sexual assault. Yes, he could, but the evidence in this particular case, it looks like she's trying to sell books, and she refused to actually press charges. She refused to go to the media at the time, and now she was actually trying to blame Tommy Robinson for sitting her up in this scenario. And now we have Tommy Robinson coming out saying what he's seen the next morning.
And if you don't know, Lauren Southern came out with a memoir where she debates, amongst other things, this alleged assault.
Lauren Southern was a right-wing journalist for a long time.
Canadian.
Yeah.
With Rebel News.
Her personal life kind of was her downfall because professionally she was on point for the longest time.
She was
a
good
lot of people
journalist.
think she had retired a few years ago. She was still really young, so to retire was kind of crazy, especially as good as she was. That being said, a lot of people think somebody sunk their hooks into her and were trying to manipulate her to be an asset. And so rather than be an asset, she retired. But now this story's kind of emerging, and it kind of goes into the theory, well, does somebody have her hooks into her?
Here's a horrible fact, okay? I was there when Lauren Southern travelled to Romania with Andrew Tate. I was in the hotel room next door. When I walked out in the morning when we were leaving, Lauren Southern's at the door kissing him, okay? So when you read what she says there, like he's raped her, that's what she's implying. It's a bit weird to be kissing him on his door and then get in the car and message him the whole way. Insanity, absolute bullshit.
And also, Andrew Tate's lawyer, I believe, came out with a statement.
Oh, and
as
I
well.
haven't read this statement yet, so why don't you read the whole thing?
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, now you want me to read the
Well,
whole
I'm
thing?
interested in the story.
Oh, you weren't interested in Mark Carney being a disgusting person as well? Okay. Or his ethical conflicts.
Because when it first came out yesterday, right before this show, I hadn't read a lot into it, and I was actually inclined to somewhat believe Southern, but I started researching more and more as your show was going on, and there was just so many freaking holes, and it was a little bit ridiculous. And I said on my morning show, if Andrew Tate does actually grape somebody now, nobody's going to believe it because they've tried to prosecute him on so many false assault cases that
Or at least like that have been able to
be
like,
disproven.
crumble. Yeah.
They've been disproven with evidence. He recently had the evidence of the last accuser in Romania actually was paid off by NGOs to make the accusations.
And I mean, I don't like Andrew Tate and the way he approaches masculinity and what he tells the youth, but at the same time, I like truth and justice a lot more. So I would defend his right to a fair trial and judgment.
When I seen just the headline
And
of
I hate
Lauren
fake
Southern,
accusations.
when I just seen the headline of Lauren Southern accuses Andrew Tate, I was actually inclined to believe Lauren Southern just off the headline until I read everything, and I said, okay.
So from Joseph D. McBride, Esquire, statement on behalf of Andrew Tate regarding Lauren Southern's false allegations. Andrew Tate unequivocally repudiates the pathetic filth peddled by Lauren Southern in her pitiable tome, This Is Not Real Life, a washed-up nobody loser memoir, if there ever was one. No evidence supports her claims. The so-called free chapter release is nothing but an evil marketing ploy, a sensational teaser engineered to propel sales of her book by parasitizing Andrew's fame. Southern is a faded relic, destitute and desperate, scavenging scraps of relevance and revenue from Andrew's renown. We've witnessed this wretched ploy countless times, stale, insipid, utterly contemptible. He has a way with words. We shall pursue Southern relentlessly for defamation. Her abject lack of proof and shattered credibility will seal our inevitable triumph. Yet this assault and its ilk threaten every man breathing. They targeted Trump, then Tate. Mark my words, you are in the crosshairs next. Men, this is a playbook to destroy your life, turn consensual relations into non-consensual.
That's good. I didn't realize this would be that in depth. He should prosecute her for defamation. And if she has evidence, then she can bring it about.
Yeah, a la Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Or crazier things will come out, and like with Amber Heard, we might actually realize other things about Lauren other than her good investigative reporting.
And this is one case where the evidence actually favors Andrew Tate, because Tommy Robinson was there the next morning saying that she was kissing him and everything else, and then texting him.
And there might be some cameras.
And those text messages have to exist if she was texting him all the way to the airport. So I would say any physical evidence that does exist is actually surprisingly would favor Andrew Tate in this particular situation.
Also, camera, hotels, etc. But we do have some comments. So Zesty's Animal says, NPR wanted elderly people to spend their Social Security on them to stay on the radio during the bad times and the Floyd riots.
Yeah.
The substance abuse Floyd riots. Rafa says, I've been thinking on renouncing my phone. My dad never needed one during the 80s. Literally, his friends will look for him around the city if there was an urgency.
Yeah, I only use my phone in the house, actually. If I leave, I rarely bring it with me, and I use it mainly for the show so I can check.
Which I yell at him for,
so I can check
for
audio,
safety.
So I can check audio and stuff. That being said, if they try to force a digital ID through the phone, I'm not using the phone.
Or just get a dumb phone.
Yeah, if that's possible. They may make it so you have to have digital ID to access any phone at a certain point. There's only a few telecommunication companies that they'll need to capture in order to do that.
Okay. Zesty's Animal says, Tate's father is a CIA asset. His Indiana University background as a chess champion. Please don't, so please don't read this out loud. But I mean, it's widely discussed and debated.
Oh, yeah. I thought for a long time Andrew Tate was a CIA asset because of his father. His father was not only a spy, but a well-known spy within the CIA. Like she said, he was a chess champion, but they used his mastery of chess to get into Russia, compete against other chess champions, and that was often his cover. So the way his dad raised him and Andrew is actually pretty interesting. Some of the stories, when they would get in a fight and stuff, he would literally lock them in a room until they would learn to get along. So
I should do that to you.
But yeah, I had speculated a long time ago when Andrew Tate first came to fame. I was saying I believe he's a CIA asset, and even now I still think that.
But then why all the hate then?
I think him and Tommy Robinson there's going to be a movement.
Because they also
and they're
came
going
out
to
of
get
the
elected.
same town from Luton.
They came from the same town in Luton, and ultimately, I think they're going to push him into politics.
I mean, I'd prefer Robinson than Tate, but
Yeah, for sure. I like Robinson a lot more than I do Tate, but I don't mind Tate, but a lot of his advice is bad. And there are things I dislike about him, but there are some things that I do like. So I'm not just some big Andrew Tate fanboy. But that being said, I will, when I see things that I like about somebody, I will say it, and I will call them out on things I don't. I do the same thing with Trump. So.
And speaking of masculinity as well, that Star Wars girl says, bro, this can't be real. Early screenings indicate that Reed Richards and Ben Grimm will have a romantic past that proves to challenge Reed during his new marriage and fatherhood.
This is crazy. If this is true and this is in Fantastic Four, this is going to kill that movie long before it comes out. I don't know whether to believe this or not, but that being said, there's another rumor coming out that Pedro Pascal is supposed to be the leader of the Avengers in the next Avengers movie, which would just kill that movie as well.
Yeah, they wanted to bring him as this, as I keep saying, non-toxic brand of masculinity. And I'm still surprised that his father's past hasn't become at least a little bit more known, but I'm guessing they're doing their best to cover that one up as well. But just in general, there's a lot more posts and stuff I see about people talking of him being creepy and the way he tries to relate and couch his touchingness of his co-stars as from in his anxiety.
Because if this LGBTQ storyline comes out, he's going to be all over the media using it, virtue signaling, trying to shame other people for being against it, and that's going to be his cancellation right there. And it's going to be very interesting if he does get canceled during the Fantastic Four because of all the political stuff I expect him to say based upon this. If this is the storyline. It's going to be very interesting to see Disney try to cut him out of the Avengers, seeing as he's supposed to be the leader of the Avengers in the next Avengers movie.
Mm-hmm. And like the plans they have, and it might, I mean, maybe this was one of the things they cut because they were doing reshoots until like almost a few weeks ago, and they're supposed to release soon.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting if the storyline's in there or not.
I don't think it will. I think it's one of the things that they were told to cut.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go like all over the place. And Rafa says, El Temach is way better than Andrew Tate, #Modo Guerra. I'm also not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of Red Pillars, honestly.
Oh, who's
El Temach.
Oh, I don't know.
It's like the Mexican Andrew Tate, basically. But like, in my opinion, a bit worse. But just because I don't like that way of highlighting masculinity in a...
Yeah, but
because it's almost the like it's a parallel to feminism. It's basically feminism for men, in my opinion.
We agree.
And I think there's a better way.
We disagree on this point.
I think there's a better way to address traditionalism, conservatism, and a better way to be masculine and show masculinity.
I don't think there's
other than buying a bunch of cars.
There's nobody that can speak to all audiences of all demographics. Andrew Tate, the church does not speak to everybody. As much as you want to believe that. Andrew Tate speaks to a very specific demographic, and that's young men. And some of the stuff he says is good, but you're going to get good and bad with it. But young men typically don't want to listen to anybody. They will listen to him, and some of the stuff he says is good. Now, I will admit a lot of the stuff he says is bad. So, but as he's gotten more prosecutions on him from the UK government, and they banned his name from being uttered in UK schools, which was a crazy law that they passed over there. Mm-hmm. Since they did that, he is more and more of the stuff he's saying is in the better vein than when he first came up as an influencer. I think as he's gotten more influence and he's realizing that, he's much more aware of what he says, because when he first came up, a lot of the shit he was saying was crazy. I didn't even see the stuff he used to say when he first came on YouTube and stuff like that. It was crazy.
And Rafa says, the thing would never be gay. He's like top masculinity. But I mean, that's why they would want to turn those characters gay, because they're supposed to be the opposite. And now they're rebranding as non-toxic and deconstructed and etc.
No, he's rock hard. The thing, it's made of rock.
Yes, thank you. I get it. You're 5. Rafa
you're the one beatboxing.
Rafa also says, Temach is not as radical as Tate. No, but again, I think the way they address a lot of the issues that men do really face in society today, thanks to feminism as well, just has turned into a mirror of feminism. And the things I find important within men, I don't think are things women fully find as important in men. Like, for example, when I did that story about that trad wife girl, someone commented, I don't know if it was Rafa, but someone commented asking me if I cared a lot about how much money somebody had before I dated them. And I said, no, I've never really cared about that. I care about the values and their morals and their ethics and how they behave in the world and towards me a lot more than I care if they're rich or they're poor. So, I mean, that focus on money, on cars and blah, you have to get this and you have to be, pumped and blah, blah, I don't like that. I just like highlighting how to be a better man and an actual man.
Yeah, and it will be interesting with Andrew Tate and Tommy Robinson, because they're both from the town of Luton. The town of Luton is completely divided, and the most terrorists have come out of that specific small town in the UK. That have been put on international lists. That being said, you have Andrew Tate, who is a outward-facingly Muslim, and Tommy Robinson, who is a Christian. If they go into that town, they could be a political powerhouse of a duel, and that's why I kind of think Andrew Tate's a spy as well, like Zesty's Animal had said before. I speculated about that a lot.
But Zesty's Animal asked for us not to read it out loud. So sorry that I read it out loud.
But everybody already knows that about Tate.
Yeah, but maybe didn't want to be related to that. But says his animal says Andrew Tate is 38 years old now, so new bucks will come along and steal his swag and fire. Hopefully, but I mean, the problem is also they might be even stupider than Tate and say even stupider things than Tate. So.
I think they're eventually going into politics, and yeah, I really think him and maybe even Robinson are government assets, and they can really spark some kind of revolution within the UK, within Luton. Things are getting. It's really coming to a head with the migration issue, and now they have voices on both sides of this issue. There's multiple ways they can play it with those two figures. Both are absolutely massive on social media as well, so their voice is easily amplified in whatever message they want to give out. So, okay, let's go into the next story.
Hold on. Rafa also says, no, that wasn't me. I don't ask those stupid questions. Sorry, I just didn't remember who it was. But yeah, somebody asked me that, and I was like, that's the wrong focus, in my opinion.
Okay.
And that's why I don't like Tate.
And we're going to get into a bunch of Trump stories here, some good, some bad. I think the first one is a good one, and then a couple of them are bad. So
The U.S. producer prices?
yeah.
Okay. So from AP News, U.S. producer prices unchanged with wholesale inflation remaining under control.
Yeah, so this is this story is actually very important overall because as manufacturing comes back to the country, it should prices for internal manufacturing in the United States, it could potentially go up. This is showing that they're not, which is a good thing, which is allowing U.S. manufacturers to get their feet underneath of them while they build these manufacturing centers or expand. So this is good to see. One of the big ways he's able to do this is through oil prices. Oil prices are extremely low right now. So that's a huge input into any manufacturing because it's down right to the manufacturing of the product, to the transportation of the product, and a lot of other things in between.
Do you want me to read into it?
No, let's keep going because it's getting pretty late right now.
Okay. What's the next one?
Just so we're all
These
aware.
were the ones I didn't have time to grab.
Oh,
So
okay.
Talk for a little bit.
Wait, just so we're all aware, Trump supporters, loyal supporters who have been jailed, censored, silenced. Oh, this is with Savannah Hernandez.
Okay.
So Savannah Hernandez, I would say, since Lauren Southern has kind of had her great fall, I really like Savannah Hernandez. She's probably my favorite independent journalist. I don't watch her as much as I should, but she actually goes out on the street. What do you do, talking head?
I do. I have gone out on the street. It's just we had no mode of transportation.
Okay, let's go with Savannah here.
It would take me a whole day to go out on the street. From Savannah Hernandez, just so we're all aware, Trump's most loyal supporters who have been jailed, censored, silenced, beaten in the streets for wearing MAGA hats, fired from their jobs, and canceled for supporting him are all of the same people who have been calling for the Epstein list. Wow.
Yeah, and this came from the Trump statement saying, why don't you just read this statement?
All of it? Okay. From Donald J. Trump on Truth Social, the radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again, just like with the fake and fully discredited.
You don't have to read the whole thing.
Okay.
He keeps trying to say that this Epstein thing is fake, but he's also saying anybody that doesn't believe him, he doesn't want those followers to be his followers anymore. So anybody that's not going to follow him absolutely blindly, he doesn't want them as his followers. I'm not going to follow him blindly. Therefore, I'm still going to give him a month and a half. Like I've said, now he's probably got a month and 3 days with me, or a month and a half would be a month and 26 days left, and then I'll make my judgment. Same with the Iran thing. I was willing to hold off judgment as long as that didn't become a forever war. I was willing to continue to support him as long as he does pull the trigger and actually show what happened with these Epstein thing. I'm willing to continue to support him, but with the statements he's made recently, if these are real and this isn't a way to kind of sit up the Democrats, I will stop supporting him again.
And I mean, I think maybe, I don't know, this might be a tactic that I think a lot of content creators and YouTubers use every so often to kind of clean out, I will say, their subscribers by saying like an opinion that they may have been holding back or something they may have been holding back just to see like if the base will follow or not. Maybe, I don't know. But I mean, there's also been other news.
There's a new base of blind followers that are more dumbed down in the mainstream that will follow them. But all the important all the intellectual followers will not, and all the independent, or most of the independent will not. He has swooned some of the independents, like Benny Johnson. I don't think Benny Johnson is going anywhere. He's the new mouth of the administration. That being said, Alex Jones specifically, we're going to see him. Why don't you bring up the Alex Jones comment?
I'm trying to grab it. Hold on.
So Alex Jones has been a huge supporter of Trump. He's lost billions of dollars because of him. And I say billions because there was $1 billion judgment against him. It's the largest judgment in U.S. history. I don't know if that's been revoked now, but I thought we had an article where it had been revoked. But
And I think, at least for like you and I at least for me, I learned that, for example, with the whole George Floyd thing, not to jump to the first headline and the first thing that gets published, because then more and more stuff comes out. So that's why
Trump's been laying a lot of traps that come out. It takes about 30 days. And I've realized this through the first 100 days of this administration, plus the Iran thing on top of that. So.
And I always say, don't fully trust or hate anybody. So Alex Jones says, breaking, Trump says he will excommunicate anyone from MAGA that continues to question.
And when Trump says things like this, what, do you think you're the freaking Pope? Like, this really makes me think it's a trap, especially with, I think Alex Jones may be in on this thing. They want to make it look like there's a rift.
They want to rile up.
And the Democrats, so they think it's red meat, so that it's all over every Democrat's mind. So when the files are released, they're going to be forced to report it. And Democrats are going to be interested in seeing what's in the files.
Okay.
You know what, Trump?
He looks good.
Yeah.
I'm glad the Democrats aren't in, and I like a lot of the success you're having, and we're all having together. And your statements about, you people that bring this up don't even deserve to be involved in this movement. You are excommunicata. You are henceforth ex cathedra from the mouth of the God King. You are expelled from the Church of the Holy Golden Toad, Donald John Trump. Well, I was never in the Church of the Holy Golden Toad.
And pause it for a second.
I
honestly think Trump's setting up a trap, and Alex Jones is actually in on it. But that being said, if it's not a trap and he doesn't release the files and this thing is real, I won't support Trump anymore. And I'm glad to see Alex Jones is one of the few creators that is actually standing up if it comes out that he's not in on this thing, because a lot of people are following Trump blindly, or they're starting to make excuses so they have an exit ramp so they can follow Trump and just say, oh, well, he's doing so many other good things. I'll be the first to admit I like a lot of the things he's doing without a shadow of a doubt. He's accomplishing far more than I ever thought he would in this second term. He's the president I want to see in the second term that I wanted to see in the first, which he wasn't. He is that now, but he dug his own grave with this Epstein thing if this isn't a trap, because he's the one that talked about, we have thousands of videos, we have thousands of files, they're on our desk, we're going to release them tomorrow,
Well, that was Bondi.
we're going to release them in a week. Oh, Kash Patel ran on it, so did Dan Bongino. Trump said they're going to release everything. Trump ran on that. So if they wouldn't have talked about it so much, it may not have been a big deal. I think they're setting a trap, but if they're not, they have dug their own grave here.
So again, it's up to
give them a month and a half. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
If it's the case that he is covering this thing up, I probably won't be voting for JD either there. Although I can't vote, but
Yeah, exactly.
I vote with my support online here.
Yes, but the holy
Because
gold.
I was just watching a bunch of JD Vance interviews, how this was a huge topic for him, and he was saying these files needed to be released. So, okay, let's go into the next article.
The holy golden toad. I like that. Zesty Animal says, Howard Lutnick, United States Secretary of Commerce. That's what they said.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people that are supposedly in these files.
And then Zesty Animal says, look up Howard Lutnick. Notice him with Trump all the time. Now a la Musk.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see what happens. In my opinion, I think this is a trap, but he's playing a lot of traps right now. I will be the first to admit. But the one big trap that I think he is sitting is with the EU offering. Oh, I didn't put this in there, so I will talk about it now. So yesterday, the big story was Trump was going to supply military assets to the EU so they can supply them to Ukraine, but he was going to pull out of that war. So he pulled out of the Ukraine war at the same time as offering military support to the EU, which they can then give to Ukraine. I think that was a trap to indebt the EU, and then eventually Trump will come and collect, and they'll say they can't pay because financially they're in a bad situation, and then he'll demand a sweetheart of a tariff deal. That being said, I think the EU knew that. I wasn't the only one thinking that, because France came out today, Poland came out today, Germany's on the fence. They're saying they don't want to buy the weapons from the United States. They want to make their own manufacturing plants. That would take 10 years. The Ukraine war would be over by then. They realize this will bankrupt them if they take these military loans to supply Ukraine with these weapons. Trump wins either way here. If they refuse to buy the weapons, then it's the EU that Ukraine lose the war. If they do buy the weapons, then he can come collect on that. And if they don't have the money, which they don't, he can demand a good tariff deal. So it was interesting to see a lot of the EU countries saying they don't want to buy the weapons now, though, when they've been demanding them for so long. They said they had they're trying to put a fund of $800 billion together to buy these weapons. Where's all that money?
Oh, you keep banging the table.
Okay. Let's go into the next.
Hold on. We have more. Rafa says, Candace Tucker-Jones, Trump is losing a lot of top thinkers of the movement.
And these
yes,
are
but again, are they, number one, could they be in it? But number two, if it is a trap, but number two, are they all going to end up with egg on their face?
Well, these top thinkers that you list, that is the exact list, and those people have huge influence over the masses. So Trump right now,
I mean, they helped him win.
all these people are speaking.
Up.
Yeah, they're speaking with a grain of salt here. They're saying like that they like everything he's done, but if this doesn't come out, they're not going to support him. Just like what I'm kind of saying, if this thing doesn't come out in a month and a half, 2 months, everybody's going to turn on him. And when these content creators that have huge voices begin to turn on him, it's going to trickle down to the masses.
And Sassy's Animal had also said, sorry, I skipped over those, wasn't on purpose, says, I want justice for the children and teen girls and boys. Exactly. Like, if it does turn out that it was that sort of ring, then yes, of course. I mean, there has to be somebody held accountable, not just one woman who was a co-conspirator.
And I said it yesterday, and I'll say it today. We don't just want documents. We don't just want videos. We want documents that are furthered by videos, and then we want that furthered by an investigation, and then we want that furthered by Ghislaine Maxwell testifying. So it's a 4-step process, so it's fully flushed out. I don't want just some random documents thrown in. Oh, here's the list. How the hell do I know if that's the list? We need the video evidence and if the public can't see the video evidence because there's children in the videos, then they have to have a special prosecution counsel that everybody can watch it, and then they can confirm it and at least say what's in the videos to the public, and then have Ghislaine Maxwell testify on top of that.
To the credibility of those as well. And Sassy's Animal said, Guy, I love that we got to wait and see. Which, I mean, yeah. And also,
the only reason I say we have to wait and see is because I believe it's a trap, and I believe it's a trap from the beginning because of the way this thing is shaping up.
And it might be that, I mean, we or you have too much faith in that notion and in Trump, but if that is the case, then we'll say so as soon as it doesn't come
Although
out.
I didn't have any faith in him when the Iran war thing came out. I really thought that thing was going to escalate into a forever war, but I said, if it does escalate into the forever war, I will no longer support him. I was going to give him a little bit of time there because I have been a long-time supporter. And lo and behold, it was a 12-day war, so I'm still here supporting him.
And also, Sassy's Animal says, Howard Lutnick is a billionaire who lived next door to Epstein in Manhattan for 21 years. And now that I kind of Googled him, and I have seen him next to Trump in a lot of things. So yes, you are correct. So looking further into that as well.
And Israel, I mean, everybody knows Epstein was a Mossad agent. All the financing goes back to that. The big question is, was he a double agent working for Mossad and the United States?
In your opinion?
In my opinion, yeah. So you're going to have Israel there. You're having Howard Lutnick. You have everybody that's surrounding Trump right now. So it could be we'll give it a month and a half, and then I'll make my decision.
Yes.
I still think it's a setup for the Democrats right now.
Sorry, I yelled there. But speaking also of Epstein and things that are moving around from...
And we won't go to RU and BLE tonight because it's really late.
Okay. For Reuters, US DOJ, so Pam Bondi, fires federal prosecutor Maureen Comey, daughter of ex-FBI head James Comey, also involved in a lot of trickery before. The U.S. Justice Department has fired Maureen Comey, the eldest daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, and the federal prosecutor in the cases involving Jeffrey Epstein, associate Ghislaine Maxwell, and music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Two sources familiar with the matter say James Comey was fired by President Donald Trump during his first term in the White House, and he is currently under investigation, along with former CIA Director John Brennan. Trump has previously attacked both Brennan and Comey for their roles in the investigations about claims of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. elections, which Trump won. So, I mean, it is an interesting movement that they have fired her, and there was a lot of talk around her as well at the time.
They need to get all these people in public hearings like they did with January 6th, have them testify under oath, and then reveal the evidence. I think this... If they can have a special, what did you call the January 6th trials?
Committee?
Yeah, if they can call a special committee, get everybody to testify under oath like her, who has probably seen all the evidence, and a lot of other people, and put them in positions where they kind of have to lie, especially if they do already have all the documents, and then release the documents and then prosecute all the people that perjured themselves on the stand. That's how you get heads on polls.
And I mean, she was in New York when the whole Epstein thing was happening, and when
her father was expected to be directly linked with Epstein as well, in my opinion. So you need to get a lot of these people to perjure themselves under oath in a committee hearing, and then that's why you don't want to release a lot. That's one reason you wouldn't want to release the evidence and the documents now, but you would want to have this big hubbub around it, is you want public support to push for a public hearing to get these people to testify, have them perjure themselves, and then release the documents. And then you can have like 50 prosecutions right there for perjury. Mm-hmm. And then whatever else is in the files. But somebody's not going to admit to being in a video if they're put on the stand. They're going to deny it. And then you release the files. That way you get a double prosecution.
So that might be why waiting might be.
And this is
but
why.
How long are people willing to wait?
Well, and this is why you want to make this big fracture. Well, if a public hearing starts within the next month and a half, that would be the first step.
Could they get it so fast?
Yeah, that would be the first step they did with January 6th.
True.
So that would be a step where I would be continuing to wait, because that would be my game plan, is to start a public hearing, have them perjure themselves. After they perjure themselves and the hearing's over, release the documents to the public, and then tell the public you're going to have prosecutions on everybody that perjured themselves, and everybody that was in the videos. The people that are in the videos should be people that you're calling to testify within that committee hearing as well. So that would be the best case scenario, and that's ultimately what I think the trap is, or how I would set it up. Okay, and that's kind
of... So we'll see. Oh, and Zesties Animal says, why is she dressed like a character from the Hunger Games?
I was thinking Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Because it's a velvet. It looks like a velvet jacket.
New York fashion, who knows?
And we did have one story for Rumble, or RUM and BLE, but we'll save it for tomorrow just because it is getting real late. Go to the 2-camera if you can. I have to wake up extremely early to go get dog food tomorrow because the dog's out of food. So, yeah.
And Zesty's Animal also says that's how you get heads and polls. Your idea, I think.
Yeah.
So, goal. And also says, Maureen Comey, you're fired. Get out. Go back to mommy. And yeah, because daddy's a little busy right now lying.
Well, and they also have to... another reason, if you're going to have a committee hearing and you're going to try to get these people to perjure themselves, and that's why you're holding back the evidence before revealing it, you need to kind of clear out people within the Justice Administration that might have leaks and things like this, or would have major influence. So firing her would be very important, especially because she was involved in the first case and the Diddy case, and we don't know if Diddy and Epstein had any links to each other even.
That would be a lot of people's wet dream. Rafa says, good night. Good night, Rafa. Good night, Zesty Sandoval, and everybody else who joined. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. And we'll see you tomorrow at this time, whatever time it is, because we live under God's time, thanks to our former president. Have a good night.